Welcome back to Nightmare Creatures, where we have suddenly and unexpectedly entered the snow level. I'm on record as enjoying snow levels, and this one's pretty decent, so I don't mind. And the PlayStation version is a lot worse than what we're seeing here. It's that little seam in the geometry right before the bridge. Those are everywhere in the PlayStation version. You can see where every single polygon connects to the others on this white texture. Looks like garbage. In 64 version, we're only going to catch a couple of little seams here and there. Looks a lot better. We did learn a new combo, but it's total garbage. We even saw it, and it's just a kick. You can't even really see it from the camera angle behind our back there. So we're not really going to use that. Our new enemy is the Gargoyle. We saw one way back in the first level that did not come alive. Now here, where they are not in any sort of camouflage at all, they're coming alive left and right. They are very similar to the Faceless Men in that they're extremely dodgy. And they like to block a lot. So this level can be a huge pain in the ass. This recorded run actually goes relatively well compared to previous runs that I've had. For example, right here, right in this very street corner, both of these Faceless Men are supposed to attack you at once. That's what happened on my practice run, and the lock-on doesn't really know what to do when there's two or more equidistant opponents. So I just spent what felt like forever whiffing attacks as they danced around me. This one obviously went much more smoothly. Did take a bit of a while to get that second one down, though. Got yet another return of werewolves. With our recent upgrade, we'll be able to make even shorter work of these guys, which is not really necessary. They're already perhaps the weakest enemy in the game. Although if we had matched Nadia and gotten a second upgrade as well, they would be susceptible to instant dismemberment from spinning and jumping attacks like the zombies and Peeps monsters. It's ridiculous overkill. There's an open gate here. Someone slammed it in our face. Don't care for that. Oh, we're gonna do a little property damage. Get the sweet prizes inside anyway. And whoever slammed that door in the face deserved to have their wall ruined. It's like they don't want us to save their lives. There's a lot of breakable glass in this area. Only about 50% of it has stuff behind it. This one here is empty, but it pisses off a werewolf. Makes him destroy the door and come get us. That door is otherwise indestructible. The werewolves are stronger than us. And that werewolf has a heart inside of him. Which is good because there's nothing else back here. No other reason to kill him. Right away, we find another optional side area. Note the icicles up top. They did slam down, but because we were in a cutscene, didn't do anything. It's actually different from the PlayStation version. That cutscene plays a couple seconds later in the PlayStation version, so you are susceptible to the icicles. And you may have noticed I decided to heat things up a little bit with the torch item. Haven't used that in a while. Got to see the werewolf crumble to dust after a couple of seconds. Plenty more torches where that came from, as well as our first legitimate pickup of the freeze spell. We already have 6 of them though. I got one as a bonus item by getting 100% on an earlier level, but that one turned out to be a stack of 6 of them. So we got a ton of them now. These things seem even more on brand for the level we're in than the torches were. So we'll have to give them their first test drive once we find a non-dismembered opponent. There's one now. Turn that gargoyle right back into a statue, who we can then shatter with a single blow. Or if we just wait a second, he'll fall apart anyway. Similar to the torch in that sense, except they are rendered harmless immediately, whereas torched enemies do have a couple of seconds to retaliate. All the windows there are breakable, but only that one has a gun. The others are empty. Over here we have the meat locker, just right in the middle of the street, because why not? I briefly considered cooking the meat, but it's a waste of a torch to spend it on a werewolf, even though this is far from the first werewolf I've torched. And the meat is actually modeled out. It's not just 2D textures. It's always surprising to me the inconsistencies in effort throughout this game. Sometimes you get really nice lighting effects for a PlayStation game, and sometimes you just get shitty textures on the floor. And what we've got here is another one of those wheelbarrows that we gotta kick to get through a gate, as the helpful tracks on the ground indicate. Got some more icicle traps. Always be ready for those. Here's where I demonstrate the properties of the torch. I've said before that it has a poor area of effect compared to the other items in the game, but what I didn't realize is that it travels an unlimited distance forward and only affects a small area within that path. So that makes it more similar to the gun than most of the other items. It's possible for faster enemies to breach the distance between you and them in the animation period, and if they do, they can get too close and be unaffected. So it's not always a good choice for these werewolves, but the Nameless Men and the Gargoyles walk very slowly so as to intimidate you. It's a fatal flaw in their plan, because not only can they be set fire more easily that way, they also won't run towards you like the werewolves will. They'll just continue walking in their slow path as they slowly crumble to dust. Makes the torch one of the best items in this area, actually. And we've stockpiled quite a few of them, so I'm going to start making use of them. There was the perfect opportunity to use one. So once you get sort of close to these gargoyles, they can start leaping at you. They become very fast. Didn't save that guy, but he did do a lot of damage. More than I'd have liked. I've also got a decent stockpile of healing items, though. Here we can just kite the Nameless Man. He is completely harmless. Now what I'm setting up for here, getting the camera just right, so that I can show off when we throw the torch. The torch literally slides across the ground, as torches apparently do. Try it at home. I don't know where the hell those icicles came from. Don't much care for it. That one's actually very hard to avoid because the screen doesn't shake beforehand. Now we just gotta keep beating our way through these overly defensive sacks of HP. Strategic item use becomes very important as the enemies get tougher, although there are some insurmountable flaws with the items. One is that the canned animation that plays when we use them ends slightly before the target is affected, so they've always got a couple of frames in which to retaliate before they die. Another is that, as we now have every item in the game, we need to find the right tool for the job, so we also need to memorize the order that they are in the item cycle, so that we can get to them in a reasonable amount of time. That way you don't accidentally cycle your items the wrong direction, have to make a full rotation before you get to what you need. And even if you do happen to know exactly what you need and where it is in your inventory, it can take quite a few turns to get to it. And you'll want to do it slowly so you don't accidentally pass it. Item switching in this game, I've said it before, ridiculously terrible. It's the last time I kind of idly mused about writing to Callisto if they still existed. No big surprise, they went bankrupt over 15 years ago. The thought only crossed my mind because in the Let's Play of The Fifth Element that I watched, they actually did write to someone who had worked at Callisto, and got an answer. Obviously though, that was a former employee. Callisto Studios was founded in the year 1990 by Nicolas Gaumet. I still take no responsibilities for French pronunciation. He was 19 years old at the time, and he now holds the title of President of the French National Union of Video Games. So, President of Video Games. If you've got a video game in France, he can veto it. We saw there that enemies affected by the torch can be one-hit killed if you don't want to wait for them to turn to dust. That is a very, very shallow fountain to have had a gargoyle hiding inside. And also, why would a gargoyle hide inside of a fountain instead of on top of it? These gargoyles really suck at camouflage. And here's another one now, just walking down the street. And the torch I threw at him bounced off of a stair. Went at a 45-degree angle off into the distance. It's got a hard time with geometry, I guess. Good to know for the future. So now I got two guys. Best to take him out as quickly as I can. Didn't work. Got backstabbed by the remaining gargoyle. But once there's one left, we can stun lock him once he stops blocking and dancing around. Finally got him cornered. And he's out of the way. This just leaves one final room of the level to check out and kill the one enemy there. No, he's not dead, don't be fooled. And knocking down this guy actually allowed him to get some hits in on us. Kind of unfortunate. They don't normally fall down randomly like that. We're finally done here.
Run, run, run into the arms of death!
While we may be done here, we are still yet to face our greatest foe of the area. Every snow level has to feature a Yeti. Been a long time since we've seen a boss fight. This one actually is much worse than the first one. Impressive in that way. All the snowman is gonna do, stand right where he already is, and huck snowballs at us. So we just gotta watch him, get his pattern down, and figure out something to do with those explosive barrels that he's standing right next to. As soon as we came in here, we were automatically switched to the dynamite. And the walls of the room also have dynamite pickups for us. So that's a bit of a tip. Just throw dynamite anywhere in the room, one of the barrels will explode and injure the Yeti. However, invincibility during canned animations is disabled for this room and this room alone. So we need to time this carefully. After he takes a few hits, he will switch up his patterns. But there's no reason to ever watch his patterns. Basically, you just dodge the first 3 snowballs, then you can throw 6 dynamites in a row and kill the boss. He'll be stun locked from the falling debris. The only reason not to do that is if you come in here with less than 6 dynamite pickups, then you gotta go around and get the ones around the edges. Now if you get too close, he's defended by these icicles that will fall endlessly. If you get hit by one of them, they will stun lock you and you will lose a life. It's tempting to head up there because it doesn't seem like the barrels will be affected if you're not close enough, but it's the only fatal mistake you can make in this ridiculously easy gimmick fight. With that little embarrassment behind us, I'll just leave you with the outro text and the off-tempo music.